welcome to another episode of Grow For It. Our goal is to highlight leaders in the personal development coaching industry and give you a glimpse into what's working and what challenges they're facing as they build out their businesses so that you can both learn and grow in your personal life and also your business as well. Today we have a very special guest. Lisa Goldenthal is with us, who works as an executive coach as well as a podcaster and keynote speaker. Lisa, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Nathan. I love the whole podcast idea.
Absolutely. Very happy to have you. Can you start out by walking us through your journey in career or in executive coaching and how you got started in the industry?
Absolutely. Yeah. I have a huge background in health and wellness. My whole life, I've been super passionate about that. And as an executive wellness coach, I started to notice some gaps in a lot of other areas besides just high performance is about so much more than just health and wellness. Obviously, the top 5% of all high performers are pretty fit because you have to be. But I realized there's so many other gaps that I could help people with. So high performance executive coach encompasses all my passions about helping people with emotional intelligence, optimizing their energy, self-leadership, managing your mindset. That's basically the stuff that has come together to form my boss method, because leaders don't need more motivation. They need structure, accountability, and self-leadership that lasts.
I like that. I think that's a fantastic approach. And a lot of people like to separate those things and focus in on maybe over-focus on one area and neglect other areas, but it's good to see that you focus on a more holistic approach and how it all feeds one another and works together.
Yeah. I mean, I was coaching somebody one time with their wellness, and he would be telling me how he was yelling at the dog, and I was like, okay, there's a gap there where you can't just be a high performer in one area, neglect communication, because that is the key to it all right now. To be a high performer, to have high performing teams, it's all about optimizing your emotional intelligence. I could dive deeper into that topic if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely get to that. Can you walk me through what the beginning stages of your business were like? Did you start out working for someone else and learning the health and wellness space? Did you start out off on your own as an entrepreneur? What was it like for you when you got started?
I love that question. Thank you for that, because I've always been an entrepreneur. I feel like it's not for everyone. It's really hard. There's so many setbacks and failures, and you sort of have to fail forward. Try something, see if it works. Doesn't work, try something else. So when I was younger, I started out in health and wellness first it was about teaching classes. Then I was like, I'm not going to make any money doing that, and training people, which is still a passion of mine too. But then I was in sales in a health club company. So I worked back in the day in New York sports clubs, so I'm originally from New York, and selling health and wellness programs. So basically, I have a huge background in sales, coaching, fitness, and that's been my passion my whole life. After I moved back to the West Coast, I've always moved back and forth between the East Coast and West Coast, which is a whole other long story. And at the same time, when that happened, I just started my own business. I've been self-employed for over 20 years.
Fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
That must have been pretty tough. I mean, when you're starting out doing something like that, there's a lot more to running your own business than just the coaching aspect of it. I'm sure you realize pretty quickly. That's something that most entrepreneurs initially probably struggle with a little bit. Was that easy for you jumping into?
Well, I have the grit and resilience, and I've been through like hard times plenty of times. I mean, 2020 was a great shining example of that. And even before that, 2008, there's been lots of times where things are not always like smooth sailing, but that's what really builds you as an entrepreneur. You look like famous people like Elon Musk, love him or hate him. Everything isn't always successful, and everything is a grind in the beginning. When you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to start your own business, you got to work really hard. And I don't mind doing that.
Absolutely. That's great. What would you say has been your proudest moment in running your coaching business so far?
Well, seeing clients succeed is always a really proud moment for me. And of course, writing my books and seeing those succeed is also another proud moment for me. I recently wrote Boss Up and Execute, my peak performance planner. And before that, I wrote The Boss Weight Loss, which is part of my brand. Obviously, everything I've ever done is all about being the boss of yourself, because you can't lead others if you don't lead yourself first.
I like that. Absolutely. Yep. I recently became a parent, and I think about that all the time, about how you can't be a good parent if you don't take care of yourself. You can't take care of your wife or your kids if you're not taking care of yourself. So it applies just as much in business.
Well, congratulations. That is so true. I mean, children and team members are watching what you do. They're not watching what you say. So you want to lead by example, whether you're running an organization, running a family, because how you're doing one thing is how you're doing everything.
That's right. Yep. Very nice. I love that quote. I almost brought that up earlier.
It's not original, but I love it too, because it all is about self-leadership.
Yep. Absolutely. What would you say is a recent win or success story that you're specifically proud of?
Well, I'm really working so hard on LinkedIn, so becoming a LinkedIn top voice was really rewarding for me, being voted one of the top 15 executive coaches in 24 and in the top 50 in 25 has been a really proud moment for me, because like I said, it was a grind. It was a lot of work. It was like all of a sudden in 2020 things were crashing all around, and I was like, time to pivot hard. And to see that it can actually work, that you can just work so hard and it can happen for you, is really quite rewarding.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Was it something that you applied for, or was that something that other people nominated you for?
As far as the top voice goes?
Yes.
It was just years and years of writing articles, putting out content, contributing to articles really helped.
Wow, that's great. Good to see that the hard work pays off.
Thank you. It really is hard work. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I just woke up like that.
Right. If you had to pick one thing in your business that's driving most of your growth right now, what would you say that is?
Well, again, I'm so grateful for LinkedIn. I'd say most of my business really does come from LinkedIn, and it's consistency and action. Anything great that you want, you have to consistently take action every single day. And my ideal clients are all on LinkedIn. So I'd say the one thing driving growth is just reaching out to people directly on LinkedIn.
That's great. And then on the flip side, what would you say is probably the hardest part of running your business right now?
Well, everything is hard. I'd say, email marketing is hard. Engaging in content every day is hard. Like I'll wake up, I'll post content, I'll engage with others' content, and it becomes a grind. So I always like to talk about burnout and how to not get burnt out. So I pretty much have a hard stop in the evenings and on the weekends. So I'll take time off so that I myself don't burn out, so that I can teach others how to do the same.
Yep, that's great. I was going to ask, what are your tips to avoid burnout? Because I'm sure you have to think about that a lot yourself. You have to coach others through that.
Yeah, no, I have been there. I have just had those days during the pandemic where my computer or my phone would just follow me around and jump in the bed with me everywhere, and it was ugly, and I crashed and burned pretty hard because I really wanted it really bad, like that whole pandemic pivot thing. That's when I launched my podcast. So that's when I just took some time off, and all of a sudden I was visiting a friend of mine out east in the Hamptons in New York, and I was like, well, I got to go back. I'm just going to stay for like the weekend and hang out. And she's like, why? Why are you going back? And then I realized, maybe I should just take some time off. And it just felt so freeing to be like, all my life I always felt like, well, I can go for this long weekend here and seldom take real long trips. And now all of a sudden I do. And it's like, even just the fact of getting on a plane for me just relaxes me and calms me down. And I can focus on the big picture goals when I'm away from my environment. Having crashed and burned myself, I'd say I travel a lot, take downtime, and I really don't work that much on the weekends or in the evenings.
That's great. So far, what's been your favorite travel spot?
Oh my gosh, I love Italy so much. Been there several times. I've been to Bali. That was awesome. I've traveled a lot in the United States because my family is so spread out. I find myself going to New York several times a year, California several times a year, Vegas. Just got back from there. So to me, biggest, most fun trips have been Europe and Bali.
That's great. What about Italy makes it your favorite?
I'd have to say the people. There's just something about Italians when you get there, they're so passionate. They're like, and we have this cheese and we have this wine and we have these shoes, and everybody is so passionate about everyday stuff in Italy that it's just contagious.
That's really cool.
Sometimes you just take stuff for granted in the States and you're like, yeah, this nice dinner, that nice dinner. But the first time I ever went to Italy, I was impressed by the people the most. Of course, I love fashion and the scenery. Positano was an awesome spot that we went to on my honeymoon that I really liked, and Sicily. And I've always loved Florence. But I think what really drew me to Italy at first was the people.
That's great. That's on my list. I'll have to get out there one day. That's good to hear.
Yeah, you must.
Yeah. What would you say? I know you had mentioned LinkedIn is your primary marketing and it's hard work sometimes. What would you say is your biggest challenge with attracting or keeping customers within this past year?
Oh, I just think there's a lot of other people out there that are doing the same thing. So it's always in business, you always have to keep it fresh. You have to be interesting. You have to be different. You can't be like one of those pitch fest, pitch slap type people that's just like jumping into people's inboxes and being really salesy. So standing out in the noise, I would say, is the biggest challenge.
And what are ways that you personally differentiate yourself or stand out among the noise?
I think it's mostly my personality. I just try to be very authentically me and do crazy videos all the time and just try to relate to people on a fun level, because I think everything is so serious these days and people need to refine and regain their sense of joy, fun, and laughter.
Absolutely. That's good. And you definitely don't always get that in the business environment. It can be pretty serious. So that's probably a nice breath of fresh air for a lot of people.
Yeah, I like to lighten things up. And at the same time, I call people out on their stuff. I'm not going to not call you out. If you have something that I see that we could work on, I'm a pretty straight shooter. At the same time, my New York roots run pretty deep.
Yeah. Yeah, up in the Northeast, you don't mess around.
Nope. It's straight shooter.
Yeah, that's good. Where would you like your business to be, or where do you envision it within the next 12 to 18 months? What do you see as being different?
I think doing more speaking engagements, traveling more would broaden my horizons to different audiences and just take a leap and have even more exposure.
That's great. Fantastic. What are your favorite topics to speak on for those who might be interested?
Well, I always like to talk about leadership and how to lead yourself to success. So really, successful leadership to me goes back to all the topics that we discussed that form the BOSS method. It's about boosting your emotional intelligence, managing your mindset, leading yourself to success, and managing your energy, because everything is energy. It's how you show up. So a topic that I would love to talk about is ending team drama and how to lead really successful teams to massive success now.
Sorry, I was just muted. Can you talk about that a little bit more and how emotional intelligence plays into that?
Oh, sure. I mean, like sometimes I joke around that I'm an emotional electrician because I can rewire leaders before they short circuit. So a lot of times, if CEO sees themselves as a hero, but real leadership means becoming the guide. One client thought he had a team motivation problem, but it was really a communication problem. I taught him active listening, and what that looks like for your audience is, duplication, looping for understanding, repeating back what you hear, and then being able to read tone and being able to pause before you react. Within weeks, engagement jumped 40% because when your employees feel seen, when they feel heard, when you notice if there's something off, a lot of times reading what is unsaid, that's when you can really elevate your teams and boost engagement and stop worrying about all this quiet quitting when people are like quietly checking their LinkedIn profile at work because they're not happy. The way to boost engagement and build high-performing teams really starts with leadership.
That's great. You mentioned that you'd like to travel more and do more speaking.
Yeah.
What would you have to have in place to make that vision a reality?
Well, that's a great question. I would just say it's me. I would have to make it a priority to do the outreach, whether it's to human resources or event planners or whoever is in charge of booking the events. I think I'm not doing that because I get so caught up in podcasting all the time.
Yeah. That's good. If you could free up 10 to 20 hours a week, it seems like you're pretty busy now. What would you focus on compared to what you're focusing on now?
I love big thinking questions like that because strategy is so important. I think that's why I like to travel, is to get more strategic. So are you talking about just strictly in business?
Business, life?
Yeah.
Could be either.
Because my goals are both. Like in both, I love to travel, spend time with my friends and family. Recently I took up pickleball, so I always make time for that.
Pickleball is great.
So I'd like to get good at that. I really, really suck. But I think just on the personal front, those are my goals. And on the business front, I think advising myself as well as I advise others on strategic planning and just being more intentional with my schedule. If I say that I want to do more speaking, then how many people are really going to reach out to every single day? And who's going to hold me accountable to do those things?
Yeah. Diving a little deeper into that, what would you say to someone as far as your personal recommendations for strategic planning?
Well, execution is everything. So my most favorite thing to do with people is to set goals. And then you have to dig really deep, like, why do you want this goal? Why do you want this goal? Like, once you have the goal, you can dig really deep. AI is a tool that I really love that you can use with coaching. You can use AI and get into really big goals. Like, what does a day feel like as the person who has that goal? And then what has to be on my calendar every single day to accomplish that goal? And then you set KPIs, you set, like, this has to be done by the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year. And I think but stuff like that is super fun because you can actually put it in ChatGPT and then you can put it into my Boss Up and Execute Planner. So I have to make these 10 calls. I gotta not just get caught up in this engagement thing. I gotta be more strategic. So strategic planning is really key because it all comes down to execution. So you have your goal, you have your crystal clear goal, and you know why you want the thing. Why now? Why do you have to have it? Once you have that, then you can reverse engineer a plan.
Yep, absolutely.
So you know why you want it. If it doesn't motivate you, you're not going to get up at 5 a.m. and do the things that are required.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So you have to know your why before you establish the goals, and then think about what it takes to get there. Start defining that from there.
Yeah, and you need accountability. I mean, there's all these people that have this goal every January. They want to lose weight. But unless you make the goal, you make the plan, you need somebody to help you execute the plan. So without accountability, which is a cornerstone of my coaching, we all have these reasons why we've wanted to lose those 10 pounds for 10 years.
Yep.
But without somebody holding you accountable, it's likely that you can get caught up and distracted and not do the things. Because it's hard things are required to be successful in life and in business.
Yep, and working out definitely teaches you that in and of itself. It's always funny how the gyms are very packed for the first 2 weeks of January, but not so much for the rest of the year.
Exactly. So that's why I'm passionate about helping others, because if I didn't have people holding me accountable, I wouldn't achieve my goals. And that's where I'd like to hold other people accountable to the highest level of accountability of like, did you do the thing that you said you were going to do?
That's great. Accountability is pretty powerful. A lot of people don't realize, but that's a huge part.
Yeah.
What would you say? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that's why I like working with high-level leaders, because getting back to how you do one thing is how you do everything and anything. It's like you have what it takes to be successful in one area of your life. You can take that same discipline and build new habits to accomplish all the other things you want.
Yeah. Do you personally now have a coach, or have you throughout your career had coaches who've guided you and played a big role?
Yeah, otherwise I'd still be like playing small. I have people that hold my feet to the fire, and they call me out if I'm not performing. I need that kind of accountability that I provide for others.
That's great. Something I've been seeing as a recurring theme here is that even coaches have coaches, and I feel like it's pretty common that the coaching community is always learning, always growing, and perhaps the coaching community realizes the need for that more than others do. But I think that's fantastic. I know you brought up AI already a little bit, but how do you see technology or automation playing a role in your growth in your business over the next few years?
Well, it's been a real game changer for me personally. I mean, as far as like a content creator, podcaster, speaker, coach, all the things. It's like having an assistant that's just living on your desk and helping you. So you still need to have the human touch. You can't just copy and paste stuff out of AI and just think that's going to replace you, because AI can't replace you, but it can make you 10 times more productive if you have the right power prompts to tell it the right information, because it's a matter of quality in versus quality out. So if you want good quality, you have to keep on digging deeper into the AI. So I know on the one hand it's scary, and there's a lot of things that the horse has already left the barn and the regulation is not going to happen. And there are aspects of AI where there's people that are worried about their job security. But I think I see it as a tool, not a replacement. And I think you want to keep up in your industry. As we get older, you got to stay relevant. That becomes very important. So you have to not be afraid of the scary things like AI and doing hard things and change. Change is always difficult, but just to look at it as a challenge, change as a challenge, and just jump in, and it can really help you in your life as far as decision making, productivity. I enjoy it a lot.
That's great. I always hear that AI won't necessarily replace coaches, but coaches that utilize AI might be the ones to replace those that aren't using AI. Where do you think it's important for that human touch to be present within the development coaching world?
Well, because nobody wants to talk to a robot. Like, in the end of the day, every business is a relationship business. So you still want to have that human touch. You can help your clients become 10x more productive themselves with AI.
Absolutely.
So you still need to be a human. Don't lose that human touch. Embrace AI, and AI is not going to replace you in any industry, but the people that are using it are the ones that are staying relevant.
Yeah, that's great.
It's business, you know. Yes. Everyone's embracing it, but they need to do it the right way.
Absolutely. So far, what have you found as practical ways to implement it in your business?
For AI, I mean, you have to be careful, but it used to take me hours to come up with content, like hours doing research, and it can compress hours into minutes. So as far as content creation, it's really a game changer. And then, you know, for outreach, it can be helpful without being a bot. Like this, the worst thing is a spam bot. You don't want to be that. You want to be enhancing your performance with every tool you can use. So for me, I would say content is one of the biggest ones.
That's great. Absolutely. I think like any tool, it can be used very well, or it can be pretty detrimental if you use it wrong. You think about a hammer, it can build great structures, but it can also tear them down too. So that's really great that you found success in using it for your content creation so far. If you had to think back to your beginning days and you had to offer advice to someone who was just starting out in personal development coaching, what would you say are some of the biggest lessons that you learned, or maybe some of the hardest lessons that you had to learn back in those initial days?
Oh gosh, that's a great question too. I would just say discipline is everything. Stay the course. Don't give up. Failure is just feedback telling you to keep going, go forward, don't give up, don't change everything all at once. If you try something and it doesn't work, just tweak it a little bit. Don't just try and start completely over, because it's always tempting. When you're a creative, you want to be like, oh yeah, maybe this doesn't work, I'll try something else. And I've done that plenty of times, but I would say discipline, consistency, and having a morning routine is really important for me. Like to get up every day and do all the hard things that are required to be an entrepreneur. I will first, before I look at my phone, listen to like a meditation, do a little yoga, drink my water and coffee, and plan my day before I jump in. And then you get caught up, you get sucked in. So be intentional with your day. Just don't check email. Every time an email comes in, it's not an urgent fire. It's not on fire. Be intentional about the hours that you're going to work and what you're going to focus on, and stay on task.
That's pretty important when you're going to be your own boss.
Yeah, because distractions are everywhere.
Yeah, especially in this day and age when you have distractions in your pocket and all around you.
Yeah, so I like the Pomodoro technique, for example, like just focus work hours, like focus work 25 minutes or 1 hour or whatever works in your schedule, like stay on task.
Yeah, I love that. I do that all the time when it comes to work and studying, anything like that. It's a huge help, and it's good to incorporate little breaks in there as well.
Yeah, it's impossible to stay focused forever on one task without taking a break. And remember, with back to the AI thing, I would just say AI can't replace empathy or intuition. So you want to use it as a tool, but not replace yourself for that heart, the human heart that we all are craving so much in this fast-paced information age.
Yep, I love it. That's great advice. That's definitely something that can easily slip away with social media, seeing only everyone's best moments of the year and constant distraction. It's hard to, sometimes it's easy to lose sight of the relationships that are really important in your life, whether that's business or personal even. There's distractions everywhere. So what, I guess, diving into that a little deeper, what advice do you have to executives out there or people who are starting out in the industry that, I guess, have a hard time balancing those different aspects, both of them being very important, but just there's times I'm sure you've been through that are hard to balance, both the personal, the business, and how that kind of overlaps, how to handle that.
Well, on the one hand, work-life balance doesn't exist all the time. Like, there are times and seasons in your life where you have to just push really hard and work really hard. But I'd say 70% of executives report burnout. 90% still think they're performing at their peak. And that gap is where coaching transforms everything. So if you're always the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room or managing the right room too tightly. So it gets back to the morning routine. Do you have a morning routine? Are you intentional about your day? Are you taking the downtime? Do you work out? Do you work out hard? Do you take that time for yourself?
That's really good. Go ahead.
No, just to really manage your mind, like to manage your mindset. You have to do the hard work in the morning before you jump into the work, or else you will get burned out if you don't take the downtime and you don't make time for yourself. If you don't have 20 minutes in the morning, then there's a problem. Right.
Yeah. That's a really good point that you brought up. And I've always heard about not wanting to be the smartest person in the room. And I guess the natural next thought is to find a different room. But I've never heard it from the aspect of maybe you're managing the room too tightly. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, getting back to my passion about building high-performing leaders and teams is really not talking the whole time. Let's say you're having a meeting. Managing the room too tightly would be feeling like you have to be always on and leading, ask more questions, dig into other people, surround yourself with a diverse team, people that have different ideas, and listen to them. That's how you create a really tight, engaged team that's going to take you to the next level of success, is by asking more questions.
That's great. And what would you say, in your mind, are some of the big characteristics that stand out for high-performing executives and what you try to coach people to become?
Well, it gets back to that active listening and the emotional intelligence piece. It all starts with self-awareness. So that's a cornerstone of emotional intelligence, is knowing yourself first. Because if you don't know yourself, how can you lead others? So knowing yourself and then knowing your triggers. Like, let's say certain things are just going to set you off. Learning how to respond to a stimulus rather than react to it is really key in today's disruptive times that we're living in. So learning yourself better, like what's going to set you off, how are you going to react? So getting back to the active listening, it's like, so if I'm hearing you correctly, the market's crashing and all of our customers aren't going to buy anything. Is that correct? So it buys you some time if you repeat back what you heard, and then you can get clarity, because everything starts with clarity. So asking more questions is going to give you clarity. Breathe first. Like, you hear something you don't like, take a beat. Your first step is just that breath. Then ask the questions. Then gain the clarity. Then buy yourself some time so that you can respond rather than react to whatever is going on right now, because there is so much going on. And we're all like fielding emails left and right, texts, phone calls, drama. So it really comes back to that self-leadership.
That's great. Is there anything else that you think is important for people to know out there that I didn't hit on yet, whether they're starting their own business or whether they might be looking for a coach?
I just say, if you're looking for a coach, you want somebody who's going to hold you to the highest level of accountability and that you can get along with. It's a very personal decision. You want somebody that you feel like you do want to spend time with, and spend some time and talk to them first before you make that kind of decision. And what was the other part of your question?
As far as choosing a coach or people who are just starting out in their businesses?
I think it's just discipline, it's passion. Find something that you're passionate about that also can make you money. Like, you don't want to just pursue some crazy thing that's not going to make sense financially, and just have the discipline to see it through, get the strategic plan together, and take consistent daily action. Form those habits. The habits are going to set you up for success because you can stack one habit onto another habit onto another habit to become successful.
That's great. And a lot of people, the saying goes that they underestimate what they can do in a day, but overestimate what they can do in a year. It's important to have those consistent daily habits, like you just mentioned. It all compounds and builds up upon each other. So I guess one last question, and this will be an easy one for you. Where's the best place for people to engage with your content, get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more?
Oh, I am on LinkedIn, so you can message me by email if you want to reach out to me about coaching, Lisa G at lisagfit.com, or it's Lisa Goldenthal on LinkedIn, and my website is attached to my LinkedIn, highperformanceexecutivecoaching.com.
That's great, and we'll be sure to mention all that in the show notes as well. So thank you very much for joining us, Lisa.
Thanks, Nathan.
Absolutely. Thank you to our viewers as well. If you found this valuable, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Grow For It. Thank you.